Welcome y'all to how to do local SEO at scale. I'm a short man. I'm going to put that down. And we have Andrew Shotland in this session. Andrew is CEO of lsgseo.com, which is a leading SEO consultancy with a specialty in multi-location and B2B SaaS SEO for 15 years. Andrew is editor of the Local SEO Guide blog. He has been a regular contributor to Search Engine Land, Search Engine Journal, and co-founder of BayAreaSearch.org, the Association of Bay Area Search Marketing Professionals. Andrew has over 20 years of experience in the internet. He was a founding member of NBC's Internet Group and former GM of NBC.com. He helped start Insider Pages, a pioneering local social search engine, which was acquired by CitySearch in 2006. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Shotland.
That is a lot of hype. All right, let me just get my screen up here. I'm not sure what's going on with Teams. Oh, you didn't see that proprietary information. All right, here we go. So nice to see you. Mike Stewart has been, I feel like we're on a never-ending Grateful Dead tour, right? Yes. Probably came to my first presentation in 2006 or something. Anyhow, nice to see you guys all. Let's just jump right into it. We're going to talk about how to do local SEO at scale, and stop me if none of this makes sense. So first, let's not even talk about local SEO. I like sharing information that I figure out, even if I haven't figured anything out. How many of you have heard of something called the ad heavy algorithm? No. Several years ago, Google rolled out something called the ad heavy algorithm that basically said, if you have too many ads above the fold or whatever, some very vague criteria, we're going to ding you. Top heavy algorithm. And so every once in a while we'd have a client that had a lot of ads and their traffic was going down, and we'd be like, hey, you guys should remove these ads, I think, top heavy algorithm. And no one would ever do it because they're like, what do you know? I'm making $10,000 a day on this. No, thank you. So I can't say we ever got anyone to test removing the ads. Well, lo and behold, we had a client that's in the apartment rental space. And several weeks ago, we said, top heavy algorithm, your site sucks. It's just bombarding me with ads. They actually took the ads off, and lo and behold, they removed the ads. This is index page report in Google Search Console. Check out that indexation. It could be an algorithm update, who the hell knows, but it pretty much well correlates with right after they remove the ads. And by the way, their traffic went up too, about a 30% increase in impressions and clicks. This is the first time I personally have ever seen concrete evidence that this top heavy algorithm thing works. So I figured I'd share that with you. Congrats. All right, next. Okay, next thing. So there's been several updates over the last couple of months in Google. One of the things I noticed about 2 weeks ago, whenever that date is, if you go into Search Console and you look in the search performance, search results report, and you look at search appearance is review snippets. This is for a site that saw an insane jump in review snippets in terms of impressions, and then a pretty nice little jump in terms of clicks. They got about since this update went out, about a 10% jump in organic clicks. So this went from almost no review stars showing up to thousands of them. Historically, when they've shown up for review clicks and stuff like that, they never really got it wasn't like it was huge, like it changed their lives or anything, and maybe 1% or so. But this has been a 10% increase over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So, and we've looked back at other clients over the last 2 months, and what you could see is volatility in a lot of the snippet reports in the search appearance tab. So some clients we might have seen in September, it going like this a little bit. So we think whatever was in this last update, they called it the reviews update for product reviews, I think. These are, by the way, are for service business reviews, like plumber reviews and things. We think that's got a heavy, whatever happened in the last 2 weeks, this is a big part of it, or at least a significant part of it. So pay attention to your review snippets, your product snippets, all that kind of stuff. If you were in the structured data thing this morning, pay attention to that. It might actually help you. Oh yeah, and is it Martha who did the schema app stuff this morning? She said that her team had said, hey, we're seeing FAQ results coming back. Those of you may not know, Google squashed FAQ results several months ago. I looked at our biggest site we work on that used to have millions of FAQ results. They did come back, but very tiny. Like went from like 0 clicks to like 100 clicks a day. Used to be thousands of clicks a day. So something's going on with that. Anyhow, let's talk about how to do local scale. So how many people have seen these really cringy results in Google? Near me, near me, near me. Should be near you, right? At least, or something. And always, how many people get bug bite every time they see it? Like, it sucks, right? Like that still works. So we wanted to test. We started doing this in about 2015, targeting these types of queries for sites. And we wanted to see, does it really still work? And if so, how does it work? And so basically what we did was we wanted to look at all these different queries. You can see, like, if you go into Google Trends, you'll see near me queries have gone like that since 2007, mostly because on mobile, they fill in near me a lot for location. They force people into the search. There are millions of queries around the world for near me. Even, it's funny, we have a client in Greece, even they get a lot of near me searches in English. Very strange. So this was TripAdvisor's iconic restaurants near me page from 2015. You can see it's pretty straightforward. Popular types of food and restaurants near you. They're using near you. And then they have a bunch of internal links going to all their different cuisine pages, Mexican food near me, Japanese food near me, all that kind of shit. If you're not familiar with the Internet Archive, it's a great resource to find old pages. One of my favorite SEO tools. This is TripAdvisor's restaurants near me page this year. It's exactly the same, except it's clean, it's modern. And so I said, I wanted to check, does this still work? This is the SEMrush rankings for this. SEMrush or SEMrush, whatever you call them, estimates they get about 5 million visits a month to this page. So I think restaurants near me or near me pages still work. So we wanted to see how well do they work? How does it work? So we did a research project. We like to do kind of quote unquote big data research projects to try to put some pseudoscience around SEO, because all SEO is pseudoscience, right? It's not science, it's pseudoscience. So what did we do? We looked at 100 different cities, about 10,000 different search queries. So things like, let's say, restaurant near me in Dallas, plumber in Houston, that kind of thing. And we wanted to measure the significance of near me in the title tags to see if that mattered in terms of ranking. We can only look at so many things. We can't go look at every website and try to figure out what's going on with every site. So we just looked at the search results. What's the data we could take from the search results? And we happen to have a client called Sisu Data that does big AI data something or other, can't remember. But they basically can take huge data sets and measure statistical significance using AI. And so we put all these results into Sisu Data and said, show us the most significant factors. And here's what we got. Go up here. Look at this stage. So this factor says the title contained the city where the searcher is located. These bars, if they're this bluish color, if they're over here, that means that was significant. If it's over there, that means it's not significant statistically. And so what were significant? The city where the searcher is located, it contains a state, contains the city and where the searcher is located and contains a state, or it contains near me. Things where it didn't matter. Contains a state and the title tag is truncated. So a long title tag. I hate it when I see audits from other SEOs and they're like, your title tag's too long. It needs to be 65 characters, whatever. Like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. In this case, but in this case, it said it actually did. So it's weird. We have conflicting stuff. It says title tag doesn't matter, long title tag doesn't matter, but we see evidence that it does matter. For near me things, truncated title tags actually matter. So if you want to rank for near me, it has to be shorter. It doesn't have to be, but that seems good. So a lot of this is like kind of duh. Yeah, city and state and the title near me. Duh. It makes perfect sense, which is why all those title tags look the same. So how do you do it? So there's two styles of near me pages. There's a national one and a local one. This is a national one. It's restaurants near me in the title tag. You come from any city, it's going to geo-target you on your city to get you to where you want to go. but Google's going to see restaurants in Mountain View, pretty much. But it's just going to say restaurants near me and then have some way to get to all the location pages. And then you see at the bottom, they have, I think that's the footer. It has restaurants near me internal link. So essentially use the words near me in the title tag, the H1, and internal linking, pretty much all you have to do. The next thing you got to look at is the search results you're trying to target. What's showing up? Is it a national near me page or is it a local near me page? A local near me page would be, in this case, what's called Grapevine. It'd be like restaurants in Grapevine near me or something like that. And play with the words that you like best. Really straightforward stuff, but it works. Typically, when we use a near me strategy for a big local site, like a multi-location site or a local directory site, I'd say we get about a 2 to 3% jump just by implementing it. Your mileage may vary. So let's talk about what the ideal multi-location website should be. So you've basically got two sections from an SEO point of view, one to capture national intent, one to capture local intent. It's rare that you're targeting just one or the other. So on the national side of things, you've got a service page, let's say plumber. You've got content like how to unclog your toilet. And then you might have a national near me page, emergency plumbers near me. There's plenty of other stuff you could have on there, but at a high level, that's kind of what you have. On the local page, on the local side of things, you've got a traditional state, city hierarchy. If you're in another country, it might be like a province, a duchy or something, whatever they call those places. And so just go state, city, location page, and then it might be a good idea to have local service pages and local content pages. It kind of depends on what type of company you are. As an example, franchises, they typically will set up their site and give each location, each franchisee, a little mini site within their site so they can publish stuff. So that's where they might want to publish local content. What we often see is they publish national content, meaning how to unclog your toilet, which that's not a local search, right? Unless you have very strange plumbing problems in your city or something. A local content is how much does it cost to unclog my toilet in Houston, right? That would be kind of local. So anyhow, that's in general how you'd set up your site. Store locators are a big thing. If you have multiple locations and you're trying to rank for all sorts of different queries all over the country, there are two general types of store locators. There's what we call a search-only locator. So that means it's just a search box. Enter your city name or zip code, and they take you to the location page. Or there's a clickable link to get to the states or cities or the locations. And so we looked at the top 50 retailers in the US in SEMrush, and we looked at their store locator pages. And in general, what we found was for search-only locators, they ranked for 50% fewer keywords than those that had a clickable hierarchy link. So one of the first things we do when we start with a client that's a multi-location client is we'll say, hey, let's, you guys need to tee up redoing your store finder, which is like a year-long project or something to do. But it's usually the easiest win. It's just fixing it. Yes?
Did you say 50% less clicks or traffic?
Just 50% fewer keywords. We didn't do any traffic estimates or anything like that. We're, like I said, pseudoscience. Okay. All right. So part of so SEO is all about content, right? Part of the content strategy is figure out what's national versus local. What do we have to go after? Because you don't want to just start publishing content. You want to publish what content is right for the intent of the search. So we have a client that's a national buy a car site. They wanted to rank for cars for sale, Honda for sale, Toyota Prius for sale, that kind of stuff. And they're like, we think we need to make local pages for every make, model, year, which would be, I think there's about 16,000 makes and models and then X years. And so if you made one of those pages for every city in the country, it's a lot of pages, right? And so you just have a big, hairy, crazy website. It'd be expensive and problematic. And when you crank out 1 billion pages, depending on your domain, it might be awesome, or you might tank your traffic. And it's always hard to tell before you do it. So anyhow, they brought us in to do some pseudoscience around trying to help them figure out how to make this decision. So how do we do it? Well, first we wanted to look at local intent. And the way we look for local intent is, are there local results? Is there a local pack in the result? Is there a map in the result? Are we seeing cities or states in the titles of the result? Or in the Google suggestion dropdown? Does it say, if I type cars for sale, does it say in Dallas? Like, those are all really quick ways to figure out, yes, this search query has local intent. If we don't see those things, we know it doesn't. Or we try to do it, we make what percentage of the search result has local features. And that's kind of how you can make a decision. And so basically what you need to do is you need to do a big rank track and then scrape the SERP from the rankings and go, okay, what are we seeing in there? And so what we saw was we looked at 16,528 make, model, and year for sale keywords in 5 cities. We could have done more, but we were like, we'll probably see good enough with this. And what this bar graph shows is what percent of the content in each search result was local. And what we saw was Honda was the only one that was above 5%. And we just used 5% as an arbitrary cutoff. And so what this says is, for all of these makes and models, you really don't need a local page, except maybe for Honda. And then who cares? Like, you're not going to do it just for Honda. And sure enough, if you go and search now, it might be different now. We did this over a year ago. If you look right now for a car for sale, you're going to get Edmunds.com and I forgot what the other one, I think it's the K, all these like car review sites, nothing local. Like, you might get a dealer way down. You'll get the OEM, right? And so it kind of makes sense. Anyhow, so that's how you figure it out. So you have to, if you're going to start to produce content for a national to local site, you want to do this exercise against whatever topic you're going to do to say, is it worth it even? And sometimes you can just tell by the queries. And so another way to look at it is who's ranking. So for national queries, it's usually a totally different set of players than for local queries. In a local search result, you'd probably see Yelp, right? Or Angie's List if you're in home services, or Home Advisor, or Thumbtack. But for national, and these so this is looking at the same set of keywords, but some with a city in them and some without. And you can see, for like HomeDepot.com is going to show up in both of them because they've got a ton of content that's national, but they also got a ton of local. So it's really easy to just look at the search results and go, this is a national or a local intent, just based on the players. Sometimes it's not as clear. Example, for this home services company, they wanted to rank for all sorts of dishwasher. They do dishwasher repair. So we're like, we can rank for broken dishwasher or dishwasher parts. Like, what are we going to go for? And we had to figure out which of these is local. And so we created a whole bunch of, I'm not even going to go through this. We created a whole bunch of keywords designed to pull this out. And basically what we found was that repair keywords tended to have local packs in them. Broken keywords tended to not. Because broken, you want to like there's an error code on my dishwasher. What's the YouTube video that shows me how to turn it off or something like that? So again, it probably, if we thought it through, it probably would have made sense without even having to do the exercise. But sometimes it's not so clear, so you kind of have to go do the math or the pseudoscience. This is the same thing with, instead of a map pack, this is a city in the title, and it's the same pattern. So city in the search results, just another indication. So broken, again, was more national, repair more local. This one I thought was kind of interesting. So this is basically broken different types of appliances. And what we saw was every one of them was had national intent except for broken garage door. And we tried to figure out why broken garage door. And what occurred to me was that that's the one you probably can't fix yourself. Right? That's the best I could come up with. Like I've fixed my dishwasher and my washing machine a bunch of times. I had to go to some parts store and get a little widget. But broken garage door, I'm like, no way. Someone else is going to do that. So sometimes it's not super obvious. Even parts, and this is, again, is kind of the same thing with the garage door. Dishwasher parts, tractor parts, mower parts, washing machine parts, all local, but everything else, national. Again, I think those top ones kind of index on I need someone to do it, or I don't even know why. It's just like, you can't always tell. So basically, You always got to check for local intent when you're doing content at scale for local. Let's talk about location pages. So we worked with an employment law attorney that had in 25 cities, and they had, I forgot, what is that, 54 practice areas. So discrimination lawsuits, employment contracts, all that kind of stuff. They had a page for every practice area in every city. So whatever that is, 54 times 25. And so we went through this exercise, and basically you're like, okay, here are all the practice area categories you have that have zero intent, zero local intent. You don't need a page for them. Right now, you're just telling Google, in fact, you could look in Search Console. Google was canonicalizing like the Seattle discrimination law page to the Houston discrimination law page because it just didn't, it was like all the same stuff. So we got them to kind of get rid of about, I don't know, what is this, 300 different practice area pages, and basically created a national, almost like a near me page, a national page. And that their traffic, it didn't go like that, but it started to go like that. This one's my favorite one, or one of my favorite ones. I have a lot of favorite ones. So we often, especially with bigger brands, these bigger brands have been hit up by some of the big SEO vendors who are like, you need to build like an insane number of pages using our amazing technology. So people sell store locator pages and they get paid by the number of pages. And so, so this is an example. Home Depot, I don't think Home Depot had this problem, but Home Depot has a rentals page in every city where they have rentals. And you can see, according to SEMrush, it estimates about 50,000 clicks a month, which is great. That's pretty good for a rentals page, right? But if we filter out all the words, including home or depot, it's now only about 8,000 pages. And so when you have a decent brand and you do this strategy, you end up hijacking a lot of brand queries and sending up. In fact, what's very common is people launch something like this and their homepage traffic goes down and people freak out because the local category page is showing up as a site link on your brand queries. And people are like, oh, that's what I want. And instead of clicking on your homepage, they go deeper into the site. But in fact, 8,000 clicks a month might be great for Home Depot. That they might love that. That might be totally worth it. They should have a tool rental page or a truck rental page, right? Because I want that. Maybe not even for SEO. It's like a good user experience. But often we see clients who are like, this is going to change our business. We're going to launch all these pages and it's going to be awesome. And I'm like, I don't know. As an example, this is a client we started with, several hundred location retailer. The left side is all of the traffic to their department plus city pages that a company that rhymes with tight ledge might have convinced them to build for a huge amount of money. So 4 million impressions over, I don't know, whatever that time is, pretty good. But when you stripped out every brand query out of that, they only got 66,000 clicks, non-brand stuff for this. And I think it cost them over $500,000. Yeah. But they thought it was great because they saw 4.3 million. Because, you know, pseudoscience. This is a good one. Let's say you have a 1,000 locations. You're in 1,000 different cities. We have a client that's a retailer that set up location pages for all the cities where they didn't have locations. So let's pretend, I don't know, whatever the next town over is from here. They had a page for that. And when you got there, it said, oh, we're not here. We're in Grapevine, right? And so they thought they were being smart. Like maybe they were at some point. This was a classic site where the CEO was an SEO guy, kind of, or, you know, he liked it. He was intrigued by it. And so he spent all his time not CEOing, but SEOing. And so, you know, like a $50 million, $100 million company, right? And the CEO is worried about the title tags and stuff. Yeah. And so, but what we found was we looked at every page and we broke out all the traffic to every page. We found that 130,000 pages in the country with no stores on them, less than 0.5% of their total organic traffic. And that's before we took out any brand traffic, of which was 80% of their traffic. So probably basically zero amount of people going there. We don't know for sure, but our theory was, oh, it's like a retailer query. if they don't have a location near the searcher, why does Google want to show that, right? I don't know if Google's that smart, but that seemed to make sense to me. Whereas if they were a service business like a plumber, maybe that's okay. Oh, and this is another client that basically created for every brand they carry, created a location page for that brand. Yeah. 0 traffic, over 500,000 pages. Yeah. Okay, so those are all bad things you can do with location page. Let's talk about some cool things you can do. So your typical location page, standard stuff is your name, address, and phone number, your nearby locations. That creates like links down to terminal nodes, I guess you call them. You can mark it up with structured data. So local business schema, you can add your products and services. What are the non-standard things you can do? And by non-standard, we're not talking rocket science here. We're just talking going the extra, doing the extra 2 things. So we looked at 10 million search results. And what we found was the #1 correlating because it's pseudoscience, between ranking in the local pack and your location page was category links to your category pages for e-commerce sites. So as an example, at the time we did this, Target was ranked across the country in the top 3 for video game store near me for a lot. And they had a video games link on their every location page. And it wasn't like it was a perfect correlation, but it was happening often enough with enough. We looked at 40 different categories that were like, this is a thing. And even if it's not a thing, it's a good idea to do. So, so find pages you can link to from your location page. By the way, your location page is basically the home page, the entry page to your site. People come in through your Google business profile or whatever. So you should have conversion-y things on there anyhow. Yeah.
So from that one location, let's say I have 3 locations. Are we saying all 3 locations should point to 3 unique category pages, all siloed into the 3 location silos, or should it be 1 category page?
The default, I would always say 1, like a national category page, but there may be a good reason to have a local category page. It's all about that intent stuff and what's showing up in. The only clue we have is what's showing up in Google, and you should just be copying that. Like, oh, if it's, and that's why sometimes I have to do these big data things, because you can't look at every search result in every city, right? And so you have to suck it in from a data partner. We use a company called Traject. They give us all our reg track data. We build it and do all sorts of crazy things. There's another one called Stat that's owned by Moz. Those are, that I know, at least the 2 big ranking data providers, or you get them from tools like SEMrush or Hrefs. All right, so let's go to, so this just shows you kind of the methodology we use to kind of figure out what we call share of the voice. So again, we looked at 10 million search results in 40 different categories for a retailer, and we kind of came up with this formula of local pack rankings against different keywords. And we could see by category who had the largest share of voice and who had the biggest gaps. And the gap was important because right here, this is furniture across 5,000 different cities. And so what you see is the score, the gap between the #2 and the #3 is pretty wide. That says to us that there's an opportunity to get in there. So we presented this to our client and said, you guys, furniture is a big business for you, but you're not doing anything in the local packs. You need to start focusing on local for furniture because there's an opportunity. Most of these guys are all mom and pop stores or small regional chains. And Aaron's and Ashley, as best we could, are doing like nothing for SEO. They have like basic stuff. So we thought, oh, you could really go in here and make a dent. And so this kind of is a way to kind of identify these gaps of opportunity. Does that make sense? All right. This one is something I've started playing around with lately. How many people have access to Google Merchant Center for their sites? Good man. All right. How many people ever go in there and look at it and try to figure out what's going on in it? All right. So Google degraded the data in Google Merchant Center significantly over the last year. They used to have amazing data for local. It would show you for every one of your Google business profiles, it would show you which products got the most impressions and clicks that were attached to your profile. And so we used to use that and say, okay, if my Houston store did very well with the PlayStation 5, I would then take PlayStation 5 ad and put it right on top of that Houston location page, because we know that most people in Houston want that PlayStation 5. But now they took that data away. Instead, what they gave us is this competitive visibility thing. And so we think there's like a whole play here with this competitive visibility thing. That up there is how you find it. Performance dashboard, competitive visibility, high, and there's two choices. Show me businesses with the highest visibility, so those that outrank you, and show me businesses with similar visibility, those that kind of have the same rankings. And what you can see is this case for categories, gloves and mittens over the last 90 days. That red line is the benchmark, so what the best sites are doing, and the blue line is our site. And you can see we're underperforming. So to me, that's like, what am I not doing in gloves and mittens that I could be doing better? Well, maybe I'm out of stock or something. I don't know. But that's now a hint to go look at gloves and mittens. If you go to similar visibility, you can see kind of who's doing about the same amount, and you can go and look at them and say, how can I outdo them in gloves and mittens? They give you a list of sites, and they give you a couple of different metrics. Page overlap rate. That means how many pages do you have in common with this other guy? Then they give you higher position. What percent of pages do they outrank you? And then add to organic ratio. I think that's mostly to get an idea of what they're spending, try to push you to spend more, but it's basically like the top one. So Walmart.com for this site had 3 times more ads. The ratio of ads to organic was 3 times more ads than organic listings. Like, hey, Walmart's spending 3x, you should spend 3x. And so you can look at these and use them as clues. So if Bonanza.com is outranking me in what is it, mittens and gloves, I can now go look at Bonanza.com and see what they're doing. And this is like total gold. Yeah.
Are you finished? I just want to say, like, this merchant center is for the agencies. Like, we show clients that data and organic work together. There's so many good tidbits in there that whatever optimizations you do for organic, it works for ads. So
yeah.
Whenever you do anything there, you see both paid and organic skyrocket.
Yeah, it's funny when you spend more money with Google, just works. It's amazing. Yeah. So this is an example. Whenever Google releases something, it's the people in this room that should be going through it with a fine-tooth comb and looking for little breadcrumb trails, because there's always something in these things you can exploit. I'm not going to go for that. Let's talk about neighborhoods. So you guys have all seen these, what do they call it? Those grid trackers, the grid rankings, right? They're kind of cool. The problem I have with grid rankings is if you ever showed it to a client, they're like, so, right? What we wanted to try to do is figure out where there was opportunity that goes slightly more granular than the grid, so we could actually turn it into an actionable thing. So we did a neighborhood analysis. And by that, I mean, we turned lat-long locations into neighborhoods. Yeah, don't even try to look at that. But basically, those are lat-long numbers that we use to define a neighborhood. You can buy a database of neighborhood lat-longs. And then we applied it to the grid rankings. And now we created this little funky thing. And now I can see in what neighborhood I rank well and what neighborhoods I don't rank well. Now I can show this to a client and say, hey, do you care about customers in this neighborhood? And they're like, yeah. And then I'm like, okay, we need to start talking about downtown, because that's downtown. We need to have content for downtown. And it's I found it's a simple thing, but a faster way to take action on grid rankings. Oh, that's all right. It's pseudoscience. Okay. So we basically defined, we got a database of neighborhoods and said this lat-long coordinate is this neighborhood. And we put that into our rank tracker so we can see where do you rank at this very specific coordinate. We now know in this neighborhood, let's say dark green is high ranking and light green is low ranking. Hey, you're doing pretty well in this neighborhood. That means I should be focusing on this neighborhood to see if I can make you go even better. Or maybe I need to perform better here because this is where all my customers are. Yeah.
Where do you get what rank tracking tool are you using? And the slide before when you had that grid, what tools are you using to create that?
We built this ourselves. We use data by traject. So we're basically taking it in. I don't remember where we got the database of the neighborhoods. If you follow me, I'll send it to you. And then it's just a simple plot output. That grid rank is not ours, the fancy looking grid rank. We have a crappy looking grid rank because we don't care what it looks like. All right. So let's go through a couple others, common things. So often we get businesses that have, like franchisees is a good example. They have a website for every city. So Local SEO got Houston, Local SEO got Dallas.com, and they want to know, can we get rid of these local websites and merge them into one national website? Because it's a pain to manage all these things for a variety of reasons. But we don't want to kill the SEO. So we basically have to look at how is your national site doing versus your local sites. And so we do a big keyword analysis like this. And what we found is for national keywords on the left, the national site always outranked the local site 99% of the time. Pretty obvious. But for the local keywords, we found the national site tended to outrank the local site 99% of the time. And so what that told us, again, not with any 100% certainty, but what that told us was you can merge all these local sites into the national domain, and it should be a net positive. Versus everyone was afraid they were going to lose their rankings. And it's important to say we don't look at brand queries for this. 99% of the time, you are going to rank for your brand queries no matter what you do to your website, unless you really screw it up. Another thing, name consistency. We do a lot of work with local directories like lawyers.com or SEOs.com or whatever. And what we found was they all have listings quality problems. And even people who have their own brand, like Walmart or someone, has listings quality problems. The names are incorrect or whatever. And what we looked at was how did sites rank based on how accurately the listing name on their site matched up with their Google Business Profile listing. And what this hard to read graph says is the more accurate your data is on your website, the more likely you are to rank well for the business query itself. So all this is like, make sure your names and stuff match up with your Google Business Profile. Kind of common sense. Okay, last thing I'm going to talk about. Last thing I'm going to talk about is location pages. I mean, not location pages, using AI for location pages. So we're all trendy now. How many people here have used AI to try to do SEO in the last year? Come on, all of you. You guys aren't trying. Come on. So we've started incorporating AI into our content processes, and we've screwed it up a lot. We've done a lot of good things, done a lot of bad things. It's definitely challenging, but we figured out that that using AI to create templated pages is a great baby step towards the singularity. So what I mean by that is, like, location pages, they're not Shakespeare, right? They have a very standard set of information, and there's some extra stuff you can put on there to try to juice them. And you should try to do that because 99% of your competitors are doing absolutely nothing with their location pages. So why not give it a shot? And so it's a good target for AI content because you're not trying to write some article that has to pass like, the HIPAA compliance or whatever, unless you're a doctor site or something. So what do? We basically take other well-ranking documents or web pages. So we'll go look at, let's say, if we're going after, massage therapist in Houston, we'll go look at the top ranking pages for that, and we'll say, hey, ChatGPT, this is a good page about that I want to emulate. Then what's really critical, the thing that we found sounds so basic, but it really made a difference, is chunking up the content creation. A lot of people we see when they first start with AI try to create the whole thing up at once. Much easier to go, just write me 2 sentences about this, and then write me 2 sentences about this and 2 sentences about that, and then we'll mix. So we do that. We also try to take proprietary data from the client. So I don't know, like, when was your store opened, or whatever it is, whatever they have. That's it. You're having events, that kind of thing. Then we run it through a bunch of automated quality checks. So like grammar, AI detection, plagiarism, because you really don't want to plagiarize anything, and ChatGPT will plagiarize everything. So you want to basically try to prevent it wholesale copying something that's someone else's intellectual property. Then once it's done that, then you actually have to have a human being read it. So About a month ago, we did 2,000 location pages for a client. And I'm sorry to say, but some people on my team had to read 2,000 location pages and make sure they didn't suck. But it works. It works. And we've gotten generally pretty good results from it. We haven't had any client that's been degraded that we can tell because of AI content. We've had several examples of AI content that we did at scale that were just the AI version of stupid insert keyword here type stuff. And it's some of the fastest growing pages on some client sites. And, we did the bare minimum to make them good pages. They're readable and stuff. But again, we didn't spend hours trying to get it perfect because we wanted to check. Last thing I'll just talk about is everyone wants to try to figure out where AI is going. Of course, I have no idea where AI is going. I think it's going something like this, which essentially, again, hard to read, but basically I think it's going to be like an IVR. And you can kind of see this with Google's SGE stuff, where at the bottom, it's trying to get you to kind of click in for further questions. And I think it's going to try to go, so my daughter Tess really loves green. And so for her birthday, I want to get her a green dress. Well, what's the best green dress near me? Well, what size is she? What does she like? Does she like long dresses, short dresses? But this, high neckline, low neckline, whatever it is. And I think what they'll do is at the end of that tree, they're going to say, oh, go shop at this store or this store. And this one's open right now. So have you guys seen in a lot of the product searches now, the shopping facets are now all on the left, right? You search mattresses, you get, do you want an expensive mattress, a cheap mattress? Whatever. And so it's again, giving you a roadmap of how to optimize your site. It's not rocket science, it's just e-commerce optimization, but Google's trying to get you as close down to the bottom of the funnel as they can, because that's the most valuable clicks. And so you should have content and products and stuff that's optimized for all those different levels. All right, that's all I've got for local SEO at scale. If anyone wants to talk to me, you'll have this presentation. You can QR me, and I'll just want to do one little thing. We built a very weird free tool called squirrel.ai. It's built inside of Slack, and it's essentially like doing command line SEO, which sounds cooler than it actually is. Basically, some things it has, you can put 2,000 URLs in there and get a Google Search Console API report. You can get change alerts if Google updates your Google business profiles, which it does every day. And free Google business posting and about 10 other tools. So if anyone's interested in those, we're giving away for free. It'll be free forever, I think. Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, probably.
Or-
Yeah. Pseudoscience. Yeah. 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 Just go to squirrel.ai and you'll find it. Squirrel. Yeah. Squirrel. Any questions, thoughts, feelings? Yeah, exactly. Kind of the idea. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming and listening. I'll be around for a while.